All right, can we get started?
All right, welcome
Got a little
everyone.
crazy.
Tonight is Tuesday, March 22, 2022. This is the regular meeting of the City of Asbury Park Zoning Board of Adjustment. Chairman Avalone, would you please call us to order?
Thank you, Irina. I'd be happy to. This meeting is being held in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the Coaster and Asbury Park Press by publication of the annual meeting notice and posted on the municipal
Right.
bulletin board and municipal website. All notices are on file with the board's secretary. Official action may be taken on the following matters before this board. And to update everybody, fire exits are located on the east and west sides of the council chamber, as well as the back of the building. I ask everyone with a cell phone to please put it on silent mode. And this meeting is being recorded by APTV. Irina, please call us to order.
Thank you. I will now take roll call. Daniel Harris?
Here.
Brittany Ashman? Oh, sorry. Brittany is not
She's not here?
here.
Not here, she's not gonna make it tonight.
Okay.
And she has a new name, by the way.
Yes, well, that's what I was going to
A
say.
new name. A new name.
Oh, to see her. Jill Potter.
Here.
Tim Slick.
Here.
Wendy Glassman. Here. Bonnie Knock is not here. Russell Lewis.
Here.
And Christopher Avalone.
Here.
And our newest member, John Scully.
Here.
Thank you.
All right. Just to do some housekeeping issues, we have the minutes from March 8th, 2022. I'll make a motion to adopt those minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Christopher Avalone and a second by Daniel Harris. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Minutes memorialized.
And we have one resolution tonight. I make a motion to adopt the resolution of 904 Heck Street.
I'll second it.
Thank you. I have a motion by Christopher Avalone and a second by Daniel Harris. I think everyone here is
I can't.
Jill Potter.
Jill Kent and John Kent.
Correct. Okay, so everyone except for Jill Potter and John Scully.
Do you want to call roll or you want to?
No, we don't.
Yes.
Yes, we do. Okay. Daniel Harris,
Yes.
Tim Slick,
Yeah.
Wendy Glassman,
Yes.
Bonnie Knock is not here, sorry. Russell Lewis.
Yes.
And Christopher Avalone.
Yes.
Thank you. Resolution for 904 Heck memorialized.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Irina. All right, Mr. Serpico, do we have jurisdiction for the following application? 1505, I guess, can we take them both? 1505 and 1506?
No, you got to do them
Individually?
separately. Yeah, you know, I get they're both the same, but you got to do them separately.
I understand.
Okay.
So 1505 Park Avenue.
You want to do that first? Okay. Oh, yes, we do have
I'll go by
jurisdiction.
the agenda.
Yeah, that's fine. We have jurisdiction. I've reviewed the notices. We're in good shape there.
All right, Mr. Farry and Ms. Gallagher.
Evening.
And Mr. Karras, welcome back once again.
If I may, Andrew Karras on behalf of the applicant. I guess we're doing the 1505 first.
We are.
The client that I'm representing in this is Robert Ferry and Rihanna Gallagher. For the board certification, the property is at 1505 Park Avenue, Block 3602, Lot 11. It's in the R1 zone, a single-family zone. The application is to construct a rear deck, approximately 120 square feet. The reason that we are here tonight is because although it is a single-family lot, because they are attached as opposed to detached single-family residences, it's a non-conforming use within the R1 zone. In turn, we need a D2 variance for an expansion of a non-conforming use. Additionally, we're going to need some side yard relief. There's an existing, there's a required 6-foot side yard, 0 feet existing, that will be maintained. Similarly, with regard to the 14-foot requirement for the combined side yard, 0 is existing, and then for the 8th Street AC units. With that being said, I'll have 2 witnesses testifying tonight. I'll have Mr. Feinstein, who is my architect, and also I'll have Paul Ritchie as my planner because we are dealing with the D-values.
Thank you.
And with that being said. I'm ready to
Okay,
the
sir,
testimony.
please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear that the testimony about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name for the record, spell it.
Robert Feinstein,
Yes,
Feinstein.
thank you, Robert.
Mr. Feinstein, can you please give the board the benefit of your qualifications?
Sure. I am the director of Studio One Architects. I graduated Rhode Island School of Design with a BFA of Architecture and
We welcome you back, Mr.
BFA of
Feinstein.
Fine Arts and a B of Architecture
Yeah, I-
in 1990.
If I may offer him as an expert in architecture?
Yes, of course. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. You're familiar with the application for which we are here tonight, am I correct?
I am.
Let's go through, if you would, the property that we're dealing with and then what it is that we are proposing. And I note that you have up on the board some plans, am I correct?
You are correct.
And those are plans prepared by your firm
Correct.
at your direction?
Correct.
What I'd like to do is mark that as A1 for identification, if we can have the last revision date on
7/12/21.
it. Okay, go ahead.
On Z1, we have the Asbury Park zoning district. We have our zoning chart, key map, property addresses in 200-foot radius, and a survey prepared by others. On Z2, we have the existing first floor plan showing the garage, the entry, the downstairs room, and the existing conditions of the backyard, and the outline of the proposed deck that stairs down to the yard. On drawing number 2, we have the proposed deck with the stairs down and a new set of sliding doors and an existing opening, and the existing conditions on this floor.
What is the size of the deck?
The size of the deck is, glasses.
120 square feet?
Yes. Overall depth is 10 feet and overall width is 12 feet.
And in terms of the side yards, why don't we discuss a little bit the existing side yards and whether or not this is going to further encroach upon it?
Sure. So on the northernmost side, we have 4 feet, and on the southernmost side, we have 4 feet.
And what about the residents in terms of side yards? Are there side yards with regard to the residents?
Pardon me?
The existing residents,
Correct.
does that go to the property line?
Yes, the existing townhouse goes from property line to property line.
Okay, so the deck that's being proposed is actually in for both sides.
That's it. Correct.
And what about the rear?
The rear yard has to the deck itself, 27-foot forward.
And what about the stairs for the deck, where they look?
The stairs to the deck are located to the southern side, and they're stepped back 20 feet forward.
Is it absolutely necessary to have a staircase?
Well, yeah, is it absolutely necessary?
It's just a question, Mr. Feinstein. It seems like some of these want to have staircases, but I think the whole concept is to put a deck off the kitchen and have some more eating area. But I don't understand what the staircase is meant for.
Where does that provide access to?
Well, it provides access from the living space, the main living space, to the rear yard.
And you have plenty of room in the rear yard in order to enjoy yourself, am I correct?
Correct,
And
yes.
that provides that access to the rear yard with that staircase, am I correct?
But you have access to the rear yard anyway. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Going through the house?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's usually how you have access to a backyard.
Well, yeah, the gate on the side also. But it provides further access into the backyard. You have a deck, and You want to get down into the grassy area, so it provides that access.
And why is that necessary?
Well, the communication of the external space while you're outside, granted, it's not difficult, could go back inside. When you're on the deck, you want to enjoy 2 levels of exterior space. The owners want to be able to get downstairs, so we provide that.
I see.
Is there a shower also with this particular project being
There
proposed?
is not.
Okay, it's for 1,500. Okay. Under the deck, do you know what's existing under there?
There's some shrubbery, there's some existing mechanical units, and there's some existing concrete pathway.
Is there anything being proposed under the deck?
Not the change the condition that currently exists.
And as this deck is being proposed, it would have gaps between the boards?
Correct.
So water would be able to drain into there?
That is also
So you're not increasing your pervious coverage with this deck, am I
No,
correct?
that is correct.
Okay, what about the air conditioning unit? Where's that coming from?
The air conditioning units that are there are on this sort of southern edge of the property line. They're existing from a prior renovation.
Are they going to be touched?
No.
Okay. They're going to be left as is, am I correct? Okay. You have some aerials, am I correct?
Yeah, I have not submitted that as a
Packet yet?
but
That's going to be A2.
Is this already marked, everything?
No, this
Uh,
is.
We're going to mark it as A2 for identification.
Thank you.
Can you see this here?
I like to look at pictures. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think.
If you want, I'll give up mine.
No, no, he emailed it to me, thank you.
All right. If everybody has A2,
I'm gonna put these up here.
are you able to put them up or?
Yeah, let me just, accept it. Yeah.
Which townhouse was the one that had the fire in it?
Two.
9.
9?
And do you know how she got out of the house? She jumped off the house.
I know.
And James didn't get out of the house.
What's that?
Her husband didn't get out of the house.
I read about that, remember
Yeah.
that house?
did he write that to
Thank God she was able to get out of the house, because she would have been trapped inside.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something wrong?
We're trying to get it up on.
No, I'm just trying to get it up on the screen.
Oh,
When I was in high school, my mother almost bought one of these. She was close to buying one.
We almost bought one.
Yeah, yeah,
The first one we got down
yeah.
here. Because we saw it, like fire break.
Really?
Yeah. We're like, no, that's okay.
Huh?
But that's still down. But we can.
There you go, thank you.
All right, take a look at what's been marked as A2. Can you describe what it is that we're looking at?
In the packet. So on the first page, we have an overall view, 1505, with the arrow pointing to the existing conditions
And how are these photographs taken?
with the drone that I drove.
Go on.
Next page is additional existing conditions from an earlier date, again, showing photos that I took myself. So top left corner. property is an existing, I think it's technically a condo, but that's an existing deck off of the second floor, living area. To the south, we have a parking lot, and looking straight up north, this is again prior to those other decks being constructed. Following page, various neighborhood conditions. We have existing photos with other properties in the area with second floor balconies and deck areas. The following page are, again, some additional supporting images of similar conditions. The following page after that, I apologize for the numbers, but 1505.
One more?
Yeah. So this is the existing condition that I took yesterday with the drone. The arborvitaes have started to grow in, and we can see in the background, one deck is, I think, being constructed, and again, there's another deck with glass railing up. It might be hard to depict, but there's a set of spiral stairs coming down.
And that's on page 5 and 6, am I correct?
Yes.
And the next one?
And then the final image,
Page
page
6.
6, thank you. You can see sort of a bird's eye view looking in, and the first deck is still under construction, and the other two, the one in the furthest north has the railing up and the spiral stairs, so in various states of completion, but those are the three existing decks as of yesterday.
Okay. And what you're proposing is consistent in terms of the size of the deck with what has been built within this complex?
In terms of the size, I think one or two may be larger, and not knowing, because I didn't see the plans, I don't know what their plans call for in terms of the set stairs.
That's all the questions I have.
Does anybody on the board have any questions for Mr. Feinstein?
Do the existing decks on the other units have a similar sort of 4-foot setback?
I am not familiar with the plans. I did not see those plans. I certainly can't tell from this image. I felt it sort of rude to fly the drone directly over their property, but they appear to have setbacks. I can't testify as to how much.
Are they lining up fairly well, or can you tell from what you've seen?
In terms of the depth?
Yeah.
Yeah, that appears to be in that range. And like I said, I couldn't tell you if that's 10 feet or 12 feet. The one to the far north appears to have this little chamfer detail, so I don't know. You guys see? Yeah, so I can't tell, but I would imagine that these two sections are roughly 4 feet of glass, and then that big, that little 45, maybe another 2 feet. So
Irina, can you zoom in on?
does this, I mean, I don't want to pull it off.
No,
Does it partic-
We have one right here.
We have one here.
Yeah.
If they're looking at the same thing on the
Yeah, I
screen.
mean, that glass is either a 4-foot section or.
They all seem to have their own particular style, though.
Yes.
It's kind of sad that they're not
More uniform.
more uniform in their look, because these townhouses are extremely uniform in their look.
No, actually, they're not.
Now they're starting to.
Yeah, they're deviating.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised that,
Because they're not condos, and everybody's kind of.
yeah, but I think they're a fee simple ownership.
They are.
They predate the condo, because I was in high school when these things were built, and I'm 72, so, and I'm sure there are deed restrictions in terms of the uniformity of the complex. And if not, I guess, who knows, but
There
prior to
is
the
or there
condo.
isn't, Jack?
There probably would be. Prior to the
Yeah.
Condo Act, you use deed restrictions with covenants and restrictions to keep things in uniform.
More uniform, right?
Yeah, and that's why, but, who knows? God only knows what's there, and there's nobody there to enforce them, so that's just the way they've been working for years.
Interesting. Do you want me to put that on the record?
I already did.
You're the one that was filed.
We did, yes, we did. We actually heard a couple. We've heard two already. Anybody for Mr. Feinstein? Any more questions? Board professionals, any questions for Mr. Feinstein?
No.
All right. All right, then we have to open it up to the public. If there's anyone in the public, it doesn't look that way except for Mr. Beekman. Hello. All right, so then we'll move on, Mr. Garrison.
Good evening, Paul. How are you, sir?
Good, sir.
You solemnly swear testimony about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
You can lower your hand. Please state your name.
Paul Ricky, R-I-C-C-I.
All right.
I may?
Yes.
Mr. Ricky, can you please give the board the benefit of your qualifications?
May I say, is that okay?
Please.
I'm a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey. I've been licensed since the year 2000. I'm also a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners. I have a master's degree in city and regional planning, which I received from Rutgers University in 1997. I'm currently a municipal planning consultant in 5 communities. I testify regularly in front of boards.
Pardon the interruption.
I accept your credentials.
Mr. Ricky was the planning board planner for years, and he's appeared before both boards.
I get it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Ricky.
Thank you, sir. Can I just jump into it?
Go right in.
Well, the architect, I think, provided a very good understanding of the project and the background. Here, you know, I'm a municipal planner as well. I think it's a little bit of an unfortunate situation where you have an existing non-conforming townhouse development that's not permitted in the zone. So under the law, if there's any expansion of that building, it's considered an expansion of a non-conforming use, as this board knows. That requires the D2 variance. We have to prove that, similar to a D1 variance, we have to show the positive and the negative criteria. In this context, it advances the purpose of zoning for the positive criteria. And in the negative criteria, the case law suggests that it should be viewed with greater liberality because the use already exists on the property. It's really, I think the board recognizes, the way the law was written, it encourages non-conforming uses to essentially revert over time to a conforming use. I think when a board can come to a conclusion that it's highly unlikely that that land use is going to convert, like this townhouse complex, each on individual lots, if the building was torn down, you'd have lots that essentially don't work for single-family development. So it's not in this, it's highly unlikely, in my opinion, that it would revert to single-family development, at least on those individual lots. So it would be a major uptaking. So what I'm really trying to say is that when you can come to a conclusion as a board that this is not something that's going to revert to a conforming use, that you try to harmonize it with the neighborhood as best as possible. And if you have a land use such as this that's not permitted, it discourages reinvestment in the property and the like. And in a condition like this, I think it's positive to see applicants reinvesting in their property, keeping the properties, I don't want to say up to code, but keeping up with the Joneses is the vernacular, but to reinvest in their properties. With that said, we're seeking the D2 variance. We're seeking C variances from its side yard setbacks of 4 feet on each side, or 4 feet for one side for the proposed deck, and combined setbacks of 8 feet where 14 feet is required, so make sure I wrote that down correctly. And I'm going to jump to just one portion of my testimony in terms of the setbacks. And when you have an undersized lot width, we have lots here that are, this particular lot, it's 20.5 feet wide, where the zone anticipates 50 feet. So one of the first things I do is like, what is the proportionality of that setback as it relates to the yards? If you have 8 and 14 feet on a 20-foot lot, right, you really don't have a yard remaining, so it doesn't work for an undersized property. And if you look at, from a proportionality perspective, 14 feet of a total side yard on 50 feet, that's 28% of that yard. Here, when you have 8 feet of 20.5 feet, it's 39% of the yard. So from a proportionality standpoint, the applicant is to apply like a meaningful standard to something that does not have a standard. In my opinion, it results in sound land use planning. So here the lot suffers, it's an undersized lot, has undersized lot width, non-conforming side yards on both sides. This is an attached building with no side yards. And it exceeds the permitted building coverage. I reviewed your planner's memo. She recognized that in your most recent master plan that there was a need to create conditional use standards for townhouses, I think for reasons like this. So that's part of the problem that's occurring, good or bad. I believe that this application in terms of the C variances is entitled to relief under both a hardship, C1, and the flexible C2 standards. In terms of the hardship, I believe that this is an exceptional situation affecting a specific piece of property and the structures that are lawfully existing on that property today. Again, I mentioned that in this regard, nothing can occur here without some type of variance relief, and that discourages reinvestment. I also realized as a municipal planner, there was a Lang, I don't want to get in the case law, but there was a decision called Lang, where essentially what that said it was a pool case, but it's reasonable for someone to have a backyard amenities with that case. And it spoke to the neighborhood in that case. So here, what I see as a planner, that the applicant is proposing something largely consistent with what's in this development. I think it's reasonable, and under the Lang decision, I think it makes sense, and that's what they were trying to reconcile in that case. Largely in terms of how this is being delivered, it's being delivered in a manner that's proportionate to the setbacks. It's consistent with what's in the development, so would not create a substantial negative impact on the surrounding property owners. Since there's no real appreciable standards for these type of uses in a townhouse, I think the applicant has done a good job of creating standards that are proportionate to setbacks consistent or greater than what's consistent with the zone plan today. For these reasons, I believe this application supports several purposes of the municipal land use law. Purpose G provides sufficient space for a variety of residential uses to meet the needs of New Jersey citizens. I think it also supports Purpose M to encourage the coordination of various public and private procedures and activities shaping land development with a view of lessening the cost of such development and more efficient use of land in this regard. Regarding the negative criteria, I believe that the deck and staircase are logical additions to this structure. I think we showed from the applicant's drawing that these amenities are being delivered in a tasteful, architecturally designed manner by a professional. This isn't just someone laying something out and coming to the town. I'd like to see that it's also a reinvestment into this building of, I think it's 8 units, which I think is a positive, not a negative towards the process. And also in terms of the impact, the intent and purpose of the zone plan, I do note that there was an area that was zoned R1A, not the specific area that was recommended in your 2017 master plan. And it recognized that, when you rezoned and eliminated townhouses or in that district that essentially it should be done in a manner that you didn't create them in a non-conforming manner. I don't think any planner wants to have a situation where no improvements can be made to a building, because then you're not reinvesting in the property. So elsewhere where your planner recommended eliminating townhouses, they recommended that it be continue to be as a permitted use. So here, my understanding, I think it was created by use variance, I believe. I could not come to that and find out any other way it could have been created. I looked at old zoning maps, and this area's been zoned R1 for some time. But something that I know boards have tinkered with is when they do create a use variance, sometimes they apply maybe the current standards elsewhere in the zone. So maybe moving forward, someone has some ability to do something in their rear yard without everything being considered a variance. And sometimes you're using up the board's valuable time. I'm not sure the board feels about this application, but in certain instances, I know they feel otherwise. So in terms of creating new negative impacts, I think that this application clearly has the ability to absorb these improvements without a substantial detriment to the public good. And the intent and purpose of your zone plan, your master plan recognized not to create these non-conforming situations when you rezone other properties for a reason like this. So I don't think it's a substantial departure from your zone plan either.
Now, you've had the opportunity to review a resolution of another property, 1511 Park, where a deck was
Yes.
approved, am I correct?
I did.
And is this a similar situation to what we had on that property?
Substantially similar, yes.
That's all the questions I have.
I have no questions for Mr. Ricky. Anybody on the board have any questions for Mr. Ricky?
Yeah, I got one question, I don't know if it's for Mr. Ricky. I was just wondering where the floor for the deck ties into the main surface. Is it into a main beam?
I'm going to defer to that question. Where is Mr. Feinstein?
We lost.
I'm sorry. I'm not the designer, sir. I don't want to give you
The last thing I want to do is try to interpret.
but the question is, where's the floor?
The floor for the deck. You have to tie into something structural so that it doesn't tear away from the house.
Okay.
I was wondering where that floor ties into. And is it tying into a main structural beam on the house?
Okay, I'm going to really defer to that question.
That's a question for
Yeah.
For the architect.
Question.
Yeah.
Harrison?
How you doing? Okay, the floor for the deck,
Yes.
where is it tying into structurally so that it doesn't rip loose from the house? I can see where your posts are on the ground, but the deck is gonna have to be attached to the house.
It'll be fastened to the masonry structure with a through bolt into the actual physical wood structure, because you're not really supposed to.
Into the main beam.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I have a question for Don. If you can just clarify something for me.
Let's get her under oath. I'm sorry, I didn't swear her in. Let's swear Doug and Donna in. Sorry, folks. Do you solemnly swear testimony about to give in this matter be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your names for the record and give us your affiliation with the board.
Donna Miller, Clark Caton Hints, board planner.
Thank you.
Doug Cleland, Insight Engineering, board engineer.
Thanks. Go right ahead, Russ.
I see that we have a minimum side yard setback at 6 feet. I thought it was 5 feet. Is it toward that for, is it 6 feet? No, or for,
Been?
it's been 6 feet. And a combined side yard setback, this is listed at 14 feet. Is that?
That's the same too.
That's, can you just explain that? The combined side yard.
So you need at least 6 on one side
And
and then 8 on the other side to make a total of 14.
Or 7 and 7?
Or 7 and 7,
I see.
or
So for each
more
combined
than
unit.
a combination of 14, whatever, yeah. But
Okay.
you have to have at least 6 on one side.
At least 6?
Yes.
Okay, got it, thank you.
And there is a provision for undersized lots. I don't know if this is also what you're thinking about. Sometimes we get these old houses that are scooched a little too far over, they want to do an addition, and they're allowed to continue on that plane as long as they have at least 3 feet.
At least 3.
But
Okay.
since we don't have anything on either side for these, this doesn't qualify for that
Okay, great,
exemption.
thank you.
I have a question for Doug.
Yes.
I understand that, you know, the slats will be separated so it allows the water to seep through. But how does that affect the overall water collection below the deck, Doug? I would imagine that there is some type of excessive amount of water that's collecting there. Is that true, or?
It very well could be. So the situation with this application is that, by definition, the ordinance defines both a minor development and a major development. The project does not meet either one of those definitions.
Right.
And, your ordinance has one requirement for projects that don't meet either one of those definitions, and that is that pre-development rates, post-development runoff rates to adjacent properties of record are not increased. So with the addition of a deck, because the water is allowed to go through the deck to the surface below, I can't say that, I wouldn't say that runoff is increased, but, then again, we don't know the drainage situation in the backyard,
Mhm.
but I can say that it wouldn't get worse
Okay,
by the deck being added.
I guess that's my question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because isn't it a deck over a concrete patio already?
It
So
is,
it's already
yeah, at least
water
partially.
onto the same impervious surface
Correct.
that's there.
Mhm.
That's all the questions I had. Anyone else on the board? For Mr. Ricky? How about the board professionals? And again, no one in the public, except Mr. Beekman. So, Mr. Karas, back to you.
I have no further witnesses. That's the sum and substance of the testimony that I'll be presenting with this application. One thing I just want to cite to one particular case. It's a case of Reich versus Borough of Fort Lee Zoning Board, 414 New Jersey Super 483, 2010 Appellate Division case. Although every application stands on its own, the court recognizes that the prior grant of variance to one property owner ordinarily does not create a precedent for a subsequent application by another property owner because of the frequent difference in the underlying facts. However, the court did say that where the practice prevails, the board can consider that, what happened before, though it's not binding on the board, you can take that into account. I just ask that the board take into account the other decks that have been built in this complex and that this is consistent with what was done. And that's all
As
I
you
have.
know, though, each application has to be reviewed based on its own merit.
Absolutely, but I'm just citing to the case that says it is something that the board can consider.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Karas.
Thank you.
So that, I guess, is back into our court, unless I'm opening up for
Public comment?
public comment. Hello?
Being none? Close public comment?
comment.
Okay.
Okay, so, any comments from the board for this particular application, either for or against?
Would anyone like to make a motion? If there are no comments?
No comments at all?
Okay.
Well, it seems to be cut and dry. It's not a complicated deck. Doesn't appear like you won't be staring into anybody else's house. And your neighbors have a deck, so you're not going against your neighbors. And if anyone was concerned, they would be here.
I am in total agreement with you, Mr. Harris. I think we do have to take into some consideration of the other decks located within the same one block townhouse, Park Avenue. So I will make a motion to approve the application.
I'll second it.
Thank you. I have a motion by Christopher Avaloni and a second by Daniel Harris. Daniel Harris, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jill Potter,
Yes.
Tim Slick,
Yes.
Wendy Glassman,
Yes.
John Scully,
Yes.
Russell Lewis,
Yes.
and finally Christopher Avaloni.
Yes.
Thank you, unanimously approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Now I have another application.
So, that will be all taken care of in the resolution. So, does anybody want a 10-minute or 5-minute break, or shall
That would be
we?
great.
Okay, I'll make a motion to take a 5-minute recess.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Angeloni and a second by Mr.
Oh, I'm
Potter.
fine.
Favor?
Okay. And I won't be drinking all this water, but I appreciate your consideration.
Shall we get back to work?
We have to.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. Take roll, Daniel Harris.
Here.
Jill Potter.
Here.
Jim Sledge. Wendy Glassman. Here. John Scully.
Here.
Leslie Lewis. And Christopher Avalon.
Here.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. So, next application, 1503 Park Avenue.
If I
It's a
may-
leap.
If I may, Andrew Ferris of the firm Fox Rothschild, on behalf of the applicant, Patrick Gallagher on this one. I may just give a little introduction in terms of the application. The property is 1503 Park Ave, Block 3602, Lot 12. Again, single-family attached townhouse in the R1 zone.
And again, Mr. Serpico, do we have jurisdiction for this application?
Yes, we do.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Looking to construct a deck on this property.
I'm going to wait till he's
Similar
done
to
doing
the
this,
other
and then I'm
one,
going to
it's
swear you.
130
But you can hold your
square
hand
feet,
up until that.
adding an outdoor shower also with regard to this application. Similarly, we're going to need a D2 variance for an expansion of a non-conforming use and side yard setback relief. Again, two witnesses, Robert and Mr. Ricky, will be testifying. And with that, I appreciate it.
Robert, please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony about giving this matter be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please state your name again for the record.
Robert Feinstein, Feinstein.
And I assume you are still the architect on this project?
Yes,
Okay.
And you are still Robert Feinstein.
I am.
Okay. Why don't I swear in Doug and Donna right now? Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear testimony about giving this matter be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Serena, do you have this, Mark?
Please state your names for the record and your affiliation with the board.
Donna Arcade, planner.
Thank you.
Doug Cullen, Insight Engineering, Board Engineer.
Thank you. Floor is yours, Mr. Karas.
Mr. Feinstein, you're familiar with the project that we are presenting tonight, am I correct?
Yes.
All right, why don't you take a look at the plans, identify your plans, and then we'll go through your testimony. What is it that you're looking at and what's up on board?
These are the plans.
1503 Park
Yes.
Ave. And we're going to identify that as A1 for identification, the last revision date on that,
7/9.
2021. Okay, take a look at what's been marked as A1 for identification. Can we go through the plans describing the site and what is being proposed?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
If we can go through the plans describing the site and what is being proposed with regard to the project.
Correct. Sorry about that. Z1, again, the address 1503 Park Avenue. Z1 contains site survey by others, zoning, district map, zoning chart, and key, the city tax map. And the property address is within 200 feet. Z2 has the first floor plan showing the existing conditions, the front yard area, the existing rear yard conditions with the proposed deck. Drawing number 2 on Z2 is the second floor plan with the existing kitchen, living room, and proposed deck.
Can we go through the size of the deck and how it relates to the rear yard setback and also the side yards?
Sure. So the proposed deck it's sort of skewed against the orthogonal back property line and rear facade of the building. So it's 8'2" on its southernmost condition, and it is 13 feet 10 with the deck. With the stairs, it's 16'10".
Why the extra 10 square feet, Mr. Feinstein?
This property is larger. The end unit of the townhouse condition provided a approximately 31 foot, 2-inch wide, which is different than the other properties.
Oh, okay, thank you.
The deck at its most western wall edge, property line edge, is set back 28 foot 9. The deck itself is set back from the northern property line 8 feet. And on the southern side, it's 9 foot 7.
And that, the deck, what's the material that's going to be built?
That is also most likely with conditions in the economy, with the market, it's currently drawn as wood with gaps in between.
With gaps in between,
Correct.
correct? Are you familiar with what's under the deck right now?
Currently, it is a sort of a pea gravel throughout the yard against the rear wall. The existing condition are some planters with bamboo in the planters.
And there's also in your plan a shower that's being proposed, am I correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and we have no issue tying that into the sanitary sewer in terms of drainage?
None.
correct?
No, in that back area, there's existing water and plumbing. You can see on drawing number 1, Z2, that existing powder room, and we have access to the wasteland.
And you also took photographs with regard to this application through your drone, am I correct?
That is correct.
And why don't we mark that as, is there other sheets that you want to go through?
No, I handed Irina, and I think the board has a similar packet to the other application.
And that's A2, your drone shots, am I correct?
Correct.
And what does that show briefly?
Those show, I think I have the other packet in front of me. Again, you can see on the first page, I don't know if Irina is going to pull those up, the packet or whatever. Okay, so the first page,
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, it's okay.
I'm looking at it.
I'm sorry. We have the arrow pointing to the rear lot at 1503 Park Avenue. The second page are the existing surrounding conditions, overhead view, view looking west, looking south, and looking north. Again, to the west, we see that second floor deck right off of Mr. Gallagher's property. Page 3 of 6 is some existing conditions in the surrounding area. Page 4 is again some existing conditions in the area. Page 5 is Mr. Gallagher's property at 1503 with the arborvitae starting to grow in. And in the foreground, in the background, apologies, you can see the decks that have been constructed. And page 6 point to the 3 decks in various stages of completion.
By the way, in terms of the HVAC condensers, where are those going to be located within the building?
They are existing conditions. There was a prior renovation about 2 years ago.
You're moving them, right? You're moving them to a different location? Are they there now?
They were closer to they're in that same line, but they are closer to the building. So we're sliding them back a little bit, and they're about 28 feet, 9 inches let's call that 25 feet to the first one.
From where, the rear?
I'm sorry, from the western property line.
And what about from the side yard?
From the side yard, they are approximately a foot off of the property line, but that's in line with where they are currently located.
So they're not getting any closer to the side, to the property line, am I correct?
Correct.
They're just going a little bit further back towards the rear yard, am I
Towards
correct?
the west, yes.
That's all the questions I have for this witness.
I have no questions for Mr. Feinstein. Does anyone on the board have any questions?
Just one?
No, we want to go home.
Paul?
Anyone in the public? Nope, okay. Has to be on a record.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's okay.
Just one quick one, Mr. Feinstein, maybe. I assume you're going to allow the water to pass through these boards as well?
Correct. I say that'll be wood, most likely with a gap in between them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and the lower conditions won't change.
All right, wait, I'm sorry, I do have a question.
Please.
Sure.
So the shower, the surround enclosure thing,
Yes.
the shower has a roof?
It is
On your plan?
tucked under the deck.
So is it pitching into or out of? Because it looks
Well,
like on the plan
the
it's
deck
not.
will have a pitch away from the structure.
The roof is solid, right?
It's hard to tell from the detail, but it looks like it's just being
Before I
clear.
It's been a while since we do these last. I think we left off last that the deck itself will shed the water. You know, will protect you wherever you're. Oh, I take that back. So we have a frosted plexi panel to push the water off.
So-
Whatever comes through the deck will hit this frosted plexi panel and spill onto the existing condition, which is the peat gravel.
Okay, so, thank you, Alina. So which way is it pitched?
Away from his property. Thanks.
Away from his house. No problem.
So toward the backyard or?
Correct. We're not gonna pitch it, we're gonna pitch it that way. To the west.
Away from the structure.
Away from our structure and away from the adjoining property.
Got it.
Okay.
It might have a pitch in two directions, so it guides it away from both properties, but.
And we'd be fine with that being a condition of any approval.
Yeah, just make sure it's pitched more to the back, not to the side.
What about the, it's a patio, right?
Under it,
No.
Along where the stairs come down, they're coming down onto a patio?
it's all pea.
It's all pea
gravel. It's all
Still pea gravel.
existing pea gravel, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, so,
And my apologies, the arrow didn't show up, you can tell by my pitch the word.
Rita, can you go to just shift the image, is it to the left? I want to see the ground. No, I'm sorry, the other.
Kind of looks like squares.
Yeah, it looks like squares, like they're patio blocks. Is it on the other sheet or is it just on the? I want to see the.
It's in the
ground level.
photo.
I think it's on the left-hand side of this plan.
Yeah, no, but on the plan, yeah.
Yeah, you are correct.
Getting close.
On Z,
Oh, there it
on
is.
Z2,
Up above,
on
up
Z2,
above.
yeah.
Hold down, hold down.
On Z2, sorry.
Yes,
This is a scan.
you are.
It's not very.
Yeah, it was hard to see on ours too. All right, so, yeah, keep pulling the image down. I want to see the top of the sheet. There we go. So like where the table and chairs are.
Right,
That's
that could
drawn
be
like
an
patio.
impervious paver on sand, yeah.
Well, so what is it? You've drawn it a particular way. What is it?
We haven't selected it. In the current existing crazy
Sure.
construction world out there, we don't know what we're gonna be able to get, but if it's a requirement of the board, there'll be an impervious paver.
Pervious.
Sorry, pervious, thank you. Pervious, set in sand. Pitched away from.
Just so we have an understanding of the concept.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Anybody on the board?
Public?
Public?
Public? No public.
Hearing none?
Thank you, Mr. Feinstein, once again.
Solemnly swear testimony about the giving this matter be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please state your name again for the record.
Paul Ricky, R-I-C-C-I.
Thank you. And you are the planner for the project, correct?
Yes.
As you were in the prior application. Good. Mr. Karas?
Do I need to go through his qualifications?
No, not at
No.
all. Please
No,
proceed.
no,
Okay,
no, no.
thank you.
Cut to the chase.
For this application, the variance is changed slightly. We still need the D2 expansion of a non-conforming use variance. To permit a side yard setback, it's 3 feet 4 inches closest to the house, and And I was trying to get an exact measurement that I didn't have. It's an architectural scale. You can see on the drawing that it flares out and to the left, so it increases over that 4-foot dimension to the stairs and the deck. I think there's a call out to the deck, but not to the stairs, so maybe approximately 6 feet or so. If we need to get that exact dimension, I can get that, but it's not a static 3-foot 4 dimension. Just closest to the house, if I can, just to be clear. This is the plan that was submitted this morning for the. I
Yeah,
just
it's
want to
A1.
point out that the dimension of 3 feet 4 inches is right by the house to the staircase, and then it extends out and moves further away from the adjoining side yard as you move to the rear of the property. And then we have, associated with that is the shower, and it's my understanding that the air conditioning units have already been moved, but those are all historically have been within like a foot of the property line. And now the proposed shower would be essentially right on the property line. In terms of the side yard, the side yard setbacks are from the, we're encroaching 9 inches into the outside side yard. So that is now 9.7 feet, where 10.5 feet is existing as well. So it's also, as I pointed out, to be conservative, to seek the variance for the air conditioning units associated with this development, as well to be within a 5-foot setback of the side yard. Is that clear? One of the things, that I wanted to point out that I didn't mention in the previous application is that with the exception of the deck encroaching 9 inches into the which is what I consider the outside portion of the development, then after this unit, then you have 7 more units. All the improvements are internalized into a townhouse development. By way of understanding, if this was a project that was a condominium association, you had 1 lot, 8 units, none of these variances would be required because it's all would be internalized. It's the fee simple or the individual lots that create the necessity for the variance. Why is that important? Because it's partially important because in this context, we have properties right next to each other. They know what they're doing, but these condos typically have associations and rules and how they govern themselves. So that's also self-regulating where items are, amenities, utilities are occurring and the like. So at least from a planning perspective, I found it very favorable that the entire project, the previous and this application is essentially internalized to the site with the exception of the 9 inches proposed that would be moving towards the other side yard. And despite that fact, I note that previously I gave testimony on the yards. Here, there's over 40% of a total side yard where the ordinance on a conforming situation would consider 28%. So despite that, the relationship improves, and that largely relates to this lot being wider than the other lots. It's over 31 feet in area. In terms of the D criteria, this still advances the positive criteria that I mentioned in the previous application. It provides sufficient space for the needs of New Jersey citizens. I talked about that this is a somewhat unusual expansion of a non-conforming use case, and that it's my belief under the Lang decision that everyone is entitled to have some type of a recreational backyard amenity, and this appears to be reasonable to me in how it's being delivered. It helps encourage reinvestment in the properties, which is good for the long-term nature of keeping these properties up to code, highly desirable, which is traditionally good for neighborhoods, that reinvestment. And so again, I thought this was an exceptional situation that arose from the nonconformity, in that the undersized nature of these lots essentially results in really any type of development occurring here requiring variance relief in terms of use and in terms of structures, because it's a use not anticipated in the zone. So in terms of the bulk variances, I thought this application meets both the hardship criteria as well as the flexible C balancing test that In this case, it results in improved zoning, since there is really no zoning in place for this type of land use, because this zone anticipates single-family development. Again, regarding the negative criteria, in terms of the public good, the surrounding property owners, the applicant is proposing development that's consistent with this development. So it does not result in a substantial detriment to the surrounding property owners. Stormwater is going to be collected and delivered to the street. My understanding is that this satisfies the board engineer in that regard, and the applicant is agreeable to satisfying the board engineer. So there's no known new negative impacts that are substantial that are being created as part of this application. Again, the improvements are largely internalized. Again, regarding the intent and purpose of the zone plan, I just reiterate, I don't mean to be repetitive, but this use is not anticipated in the zone. Your master plan anticipated that not creating buildings that are non-conforming so they can have some reasonable use and expansion without it coming in front of the board. This is not a substantial departure from your zone plan in that regard. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. I'm trying not to sound repetitive, but to provide the proofs. Again, I believe that for the reasons that I mentioned and due to the non-conforming nature, both of use and undersized nature of the property, that this application continues to result in sound land use planning despite the need for the variances.
There's one thing I do want to address. When we look at the planner's report that's dated March 16, 2022, on page 4, section 3.1, there's a comment with regard to drainage from the shower water, how it will be captured. Again, that will go into the dwelling's sewer system. Just work on that.
Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Karas. I have no questions for Mr. Ricky. Does anybody on the board have any questions for Mr. Ricky? Board professionals, do you have any questions for Mr. Ricky?
No.
Public, anybody in the public for Mr. Ricky? Seeing none, closing public questioning. Moving on to
Public comment.
public comment. Again, looking to the public and no public comment. And I'll close public comment. Back to you, Mr. Karas. Would you like to have a closing argument at all?
I will submit, and this may be the first application I've ever had where nobody has commented in the public.
Don't get used to it.
You don't want the kiss of death here.
Yeah, knock on wood there.
Yeah. Let's be careful now.
Zoning board, we're up at Andy.
And you'll rule the day that you said that.
Right. Well, there's a bus that just pulled up and a few people getting off.
Can we get to a vote, please?
Yeah. Okay.
So, we're back to us.
Right.
Anybody on the board have any comments either for or against the application? I personally think that based on our previous application, we need to approve this application as well.
If I may, I'll add a condition in that makes sure that the shower drain is tied into the sanitary.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Serpico.
Okay.
And I'll make a motion to approve this application.
I'll second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Christopher Avalone and a second by Russell Lewis. Daniel Harris, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jill Potter,
Yes.
Tim Slick,
Yes.
Wendy Glassman,
Yes.
John Foley,
Yes.
Russell Lewis,
Yes.
and finally Christopher Avalone.
Yes.
Thank you. Application
Thank you.
approved.
You won.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
2 for 2 tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Harris, Mr. Feinstein.
Robert, take care. Good to see you.
everybody.
And I'll make a
Paul,
motion
good
to
to see
adjourn the
you.
meeting.
Just if I may, well, yeah, well, you can close, and I have to just to address the board.
All in favor?
Aye.